The launch of Tesla's new revised Model Y, combined with the CyberCab design that we now know, point to clues about what we can expect for the upcoming, more affordable vehicles. Tesla has said that they will be launching these in the first half of this year. If the new vehicles are built off the same production lines as the 3 and Y, might they have the same front and rear, new front bumper camera, new body castings that reduce parts from 70 to 1? Now, if we take another look at the CyberCab, which was purpose-built for robotaxi, but it's the most compact car Tesla has ever made, it's likely these new, more affordable vehicles fall right in the middle of these two cars. Today, we have Brian White joining us. He's the best Tesla retail analyst out there who knows the most about the CyberCab. Brian met with multiple CyberCab engineers and learned exactly why they made certain design choices. This is going to be a really fun video. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, Brian.
This is a great topic. It's one that I've had difficulty speculating on, but that means I've done a whole lot of research and I'm happy to share it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've said this a few times, but it's so true. You are the person who knows the most about the CyberCab than any other retail or institutional analyst out there, because you actually met with multiple CyberCab engineers. You've done multiple videos on your channel, FutureAza. Just incredible. We've done a show where you just laid out exactly why they did certain features, mostly because it was designed purposely for robotaxi reasons. Why did they design certain features? Because they want to reduce the cost. Now that we've seen the Model Y, the new revised Model Y, I want us to figure out which parts are going to be reused on the new affordable vehicles, which are going to be built in the same production line, and which features from the CyberCab you might think might make it in or not. So the first thing is, let's review this. The same paragraph has been appearing in multiple earnings calls. This was the most recent earnings call, and Tesla said this: plans for new vehicles, including more affordable models, remain on track for start of production in the first half of 2025. We're here. These vehicles will utilize aspects of the next-gen platform as well as aspects of our current platforms, and will be able to be produced on the same manufacturing lines as our current vehicle lineup. So they're going to be produced on the same lines, but they're going to use some next-gen platform as well as current platforms. So, maybe the interior and so forth, but it's not going to be the unboxed model per se because it's on the same manufacturing line. This approach will result in achieving less cost reduction than previously expected, because initially they wanted to really do unboxed, but enables us to prudently grow our vehicle volumes in a more CapEx efficient manner during uncertain times. This should help us fully utilize our current expected maximum capacity of close to 3 million vehicles. By the way, everybody keeps glossing over this. They really do think that this is going to enable 50% growth over 2023 production before investing in new manufacturing lines. They can take these and eventually just use the same production lines. Okay, so that's that. And so let me walk you through. Here's the new Model Y, right? Brand new. I do love it. I do like it. A lot of people are still trying to get used to it. You got the new front with the kind of light bar in the front, and that's the new front. Here's the new rear with the light bar in the rear. I just wanted to ask, do you think that front and back are going to be used in the new affordable vehicles? And then we'll go through all the other features, including this. What do you think about that, Brian?
I think so. I think so, just because we want as much parts commonality as possible. And you could do that. You could absolutely do that. There are a couple ways you could make it smaller, cheaper. But if what you're asking is the front and back, I think so. I think they want that signature on vehicles moving forward. And so I would say yes is the short answer.
Were you surprised that the Model Y did not copy the Model 3?
Yes, I was surprised. I expected it to be exactly the Highland equivalent. And it is in many ways, but like the new indirect taillight you just showed, that's a new thing. That's beautiful. That light bar, very modern, very fashionable and stylish. And even the fact that they added an additional seam on the rear hatch, so it's no longer one piece that goes all the way from the bumper up to the top. That makes it cheaper to manufacture, less scrap in the manufacturing process, cheaper to repair. All of these things are what you want. And those are all ways you get the cost down.
Okay. Yeah, I was definitely surprised why they didn't exactly copy the Model 3. But again, I think that it is a separation, right? You don't want to exactly copy it. But the question now is, with the new affordable vehicles, will they reuse the front and back of the Model Y because it's the new design kind of thing, or will they reuse the new redesigned Model 3? Um,
I love it. I love it. So if this is, we don't know if the new vehicle is going to be a Model Y or a Model 3. I'm inclined to believe that it'd be the Y, that it'd be some kind of variant on the Y, but a little smaller somehow. If you look at Ford, they've got a vehicle called the EcoSport, and it is a compact SUV, a truly compact. I parked next to one at Lowe's the other day. I lined up front bumper to front bumper as close as I could on purpose and checked the rear bumper of that vehicle was in the middle of like the back seats, the second row of seats. I've got a third row and cargo space behind that. What you could do is trim the car down so that you don't have, so that you just have four seats and almost no storage behind them, so that you have a choice between carrying stuff or carrying a second row of people. That would be one way to do it. It would be the most complicated thing I could see them doing. I think they're more likely to take the Model 3 for the Mexican market approach, which is to say, let's cut as many costs as we can. We can make it single motor instead of dual. We can make it with no subwoofers instead of two. We can do front but not rear infotainment. Get rid of the heated seats. Go with cloth seats instead of faux leather. There's a lot of things you can do. They could go to a metal roof instead of glass. And while and the metal roof has a bunch of advantages built in terms of cabin climate control and all that. And we know that Tesla's got LFP equipment that may be coming online any day in Nevada. They could switch it to an LFP chemistry, which would make it eligible for the IRA credit while it lasts, making it $7,500 cheaper still. So with all of those things piled on, you could end up with a Model Y variant that's still full Model Y size. That would be, $10,000, $12,000 cheaper. That doesn't get you quite to 25,000, but it gets you to 31, 32, 25,000 with the IRA, and you're pretty much there.
Ooh. Okay, I like that idea. So maybe what they'll do is just take a Model 3 variant, Model Y variant, not to say that they're the same car and just having a different, badge to it, or not, I mean, a different trim to it, but they could use that as the beginnings and then all the things you said.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
could do what is a true facelift, where you just change the bumper. Just give it a sleeker bumper, just something different, a slightly different hood, so that it's visually different. And that would be enough to differentiate it to a lot of people. But then again, if they do actually make it a little bit more compact, then you've got less weight. Now you need less battery.
Right.
And
That's how
the
you
other
reduce
thing,
costs significantly.
yes, and the other thing Tesla's gotten very good at in over the last since the Highland is getting more realistic with their range ratings. I've seen people say, well, the Model 3 is only has, 10 more miles of range. Right. Until you get it out on the road, and then you realize it's got 70 more miles of range. It's quite a huge upgrade. And so what they could do is just put a smaller battery in it, or again, do the
Yeah.
LFP.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, Model 3, or okay, a new vehicle, but taking design cues, reusing parts is so critical. That's how you reduce costs. Because if you actually reuse the same parts, the volume goes up. You can actually have lower costs than if you redesign something new because you're trying to cut costs. Let's just take a quick look at the Model Y. Here's the interior. Obviously, this is a premium, so they're trying to trying to use the best materials as possible. You had already mentioned that in Mexico, they launched a lower priced Model 3 in Mexico by, I think, reduce it by $3,000 US, and did it by changing the leather seats, turning into kind of this cloth seat. They removed the rear seat as
The
well,
rear screen. Mm-hmm.
rear screen.
And the
Here's
subwoofers.
and
Yes.
then remove the subwoofers. Here's the rear of the Model Y. I do think that this is possibly, well, I don't know. Now that I'm going back, because if this is the Model Y, here's let me see what I can do here. Here's the Model 3 rear. It's like you do want to. not make a cheaper car look like the Model Y. Okay, I'm going to go back. They might copy the Model 3 rear. Hmm.
Either way, they would do whatever makes sense financially while keeping as many parts in common. The question becomes, if they're going to change the entire back end because it's a slightly smaller vehicle, then they can do whatever. It doesn't matter. They're not going to probably won't have as many parts in common as they'd like, but it would work. And in terms of the castings, you can use the same castings. You could use the Model Y front and rear castings, and it would, because there's an economy of scale. People have said, well, when is the Model S going to get castings? And the answer is never. They do not produce them in sufficient volume to justify the capital expenditure to develop, and just even to build the dies for those is outrageously expensive. So that is not coming. People have said, oh, I hope such and such brand switches to, castings. And it's like, well, that brand doesn't move enough units. They can't. It doesn't make sense. So sometimes you have to stick with
I was just about to talk about the castings, because that is one way that they're going to reduce the costs, right? It's a big way. It's the most massive way. So here's what the castings look like, the Model Y, revised Model Y. And they said that this casting reduced the parts. Here we go. Features redesigned body castings, reducing the number of parts from 70 to 1. Minimize gaps, enhances cabin quietness, shortens production time. So, Brian, when you take a look at this, this is why, okay, well, if they make these castings, if they reuse some parts of the casting, I guess that would help. Some learnings that they made. Can you tell me more about this? Is there 3 parts, or are there 2 parts? What do you see here?
Sure. So this would have a front casting, which covers, which goes over the front wheels and kind of wraps around kind of by what you would call the firewall, even though it's not really a firewall anymore. And then another one in the back. Both of those would connect to a hypothetical structural battery pack. Model Y was briefly made in Texas with structural battery packs. They discontinued that because they needed the cells to build the Cybertruck. So they could go with a structural battery pack that would eliminate that. There was some talk that they may introduce more castings, maybe going up the B pillar, which is the one right behind the driver's elbow and the passenger's other elbow, going up along there. From this illustration, we can see they are not doing that. Those are still, multi-layer steel with different types of steel, the hardened steel with the softer, and it's a elegant sandwich of different types of metals to make it have the right strength, but sufficient deformability in the event of an accident. So everything is engineered thoroughly. I'm not sure a casting could be used in that application because of the way in which a side impact needs to deform. It might be too rigid for that purpose. So yeah, it is simpler. And that post from X that you showed was exactly right. It said that it makes it, the biggest thing on there is it makes it quicker to build. Because when you start with a perfectly flat base and build up on top of it, everything comes together a lot quicker than if you start with a bunch of origami and try and fit it together, a jigsaw puzzle going together versus Lego. So this will save time, save money. It's just a better process.
It does feel like if they've worked on this so hard to create these 70 to 1, 70 parts less than they used to, they're going to redo some of it. Okay.
Actually, go back to that picture again, because I want to point out another thing. That one there is, look at all the different things you could put on the front of this without having to change that structure. You could make that front look very different than what we're seeing it look like today. It's just a new skin. It's just, and that's one way they could differentiate the models.
There you go. That's what I was asking you. You answered it very well. All right. So the other things, just for people to be aware, here's the new wheel well. It is kind of more oval than the previous one. That helps with ride comfort, but also part of the castings. This is how it looks now. The top is the new one. This is the bottom, Model Y. And they left in the turn signal, which is weird because Model 3 doesn't have it anymore. And I enjoyed the stockless drive. I thought it was so easy to transition to that. And I thought for sure that they were going to just move in this direction, but they left it in. There's a powered rear seats, There is a front camera put in there. So let's compare that now to the compact car, which you know so well, the robotaxi, the CyberCab. And the CyberCab was purposely built for robotaxi, but it's also the compact car. I mean to say that it's small. It only seats two people, and it's short, and so therefore they can reduce the cost tremendously. So what I wanted to explore with you, since you know this so well, what parts of the robotaxi might make it into the new affordable vehicles? Unlikely that these doors will make it, right? That was designed because of robotaxi. I really doubt that they're going to put that into the more affordable vehicles. And remember that this is now being built on the unboxed model, not the same production lines. So if anything, it's going to look more like the 3Y than it will the CyberCab. But is there anything from the CyberCab that we learned, like the massive rear? They got rid of the rear so that they only needed two people. Now, that was because if it's robotaxi, you don't need to see in the back. But if it's a vehicle you're selling, you still need the glass in the back. Here's the interior, very simplified. Could there be something here? The cab. This was designed for easy cleaning, though, so it wasn't necessarily designed for cost, but it was certainly cost too. So yeah, those are the things. What do you think, Brian?
Okay, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
The Honda Accord for a long time was made in 4-door and 2-door versions at the same time. And not only was there a 2-door coupe, but there was also a 2-door hatchback. From the passenger, from the driver's seat forward, it was the same car. And from there back, it was a different car. It was a hatchback or a coupe. So if they were to make a 2-door version, I think they'd want those big doors so people could actually get in and out of the back seats. Could we see those doors? Yes, I'd say yes, you could. It is entirely possible that would be carried over. On the stock, I think the reason there is a blinker stock is because there's a small number of people who won't try it, who just won't try it and have said, I don't want it, I don't like it. And with a vehicle like the Model Y, we want to sell all of them. So it's, it's $20 a car, it's $5 a car, whatever it is. Just include it for now, just so we can move as many units as we want. And I think the reason we didn't see a whole new vehicle design on this, and I think it was AJ that pointed this out, is because the Model Y is not the future. The Model Y is the best of the present day. The future is CyberCab. And once CyberCab is out and selling in the millions, the next vehicles won't look like Model Ys. They'll look like Robo Model Ys. And I think they'll be different and have a completely different philosophy. And they don't want to spend $2 billion tooling up for a whole new crossover midsize.
Okay. And then let's tell me more about the CyberCab.
What would you like to know?
Anything in here? So which, you can go down the list of all the things they did that's designed for robotaxi, but then all the things they also did that was designed for lower cost. Because is there anything from the lower cost side of the equation that they might make it into the more affordable vehicle?
Okay, so almost definitely no. So let's start with the skin. The skin on this isn't really structural, so to speak. Where with the Model Y, it is absolutely unibody. You need all those components. In terms of, the reduced cost on the suspension and the brakes and all that, it won't make it because this will not pull high G's. The CyberCab is not going to be thrown around corners the way a human operated car might be. And you have to account for might. This is just single motor. I think we will see that in the lower cost one. I think we would have to. Some people have said, I need the extra traction for wintry weather, wet weather. These cars handle really well. For a 2-wheel drive vehicle, the traction control is amazing. The lights are very reminiscent, so that might make it. The solid roof, I expect to see that. But a lot of the eliminations won't make it because they are so specific to this vehicle. And this is much smaller. It is 20 centimeters narrower than a Model S. It doesn't have the mirrors, which, if we could get NHTSA to approve a mirrorless design where it's cameras instead, I think it's time for that. That would be a tremendous cost savings right there. But that's beyond Tesla's control. So what else could we see? Boy, I think that's probably about it. I don't think
How
they
about
would
the
go
seats?
that.
The seats
I
were
don't think they would go
designed.
that minimal on the
Yeah,
seats. They are comfortable, but I don't think they would go quite that far. It, yeah, I just don't see that
because they
happening.
were designed for easy cleaning, easy in and out versus CyberCab. I don't know. Maybe they could because it was designed minimally as well. But they also removed lots of things, right? Very few switches, right? Can you talk about
Hmm.
that?
Sure. Could they reduce the button and switch count in a Model Y? There's not very many buttons in there. So it's already reduced pretty far. And if they were going to, I think we would have seen it on the Juniper refresh. But they're already kind of running out of things to eliminate. Those seats in the Cybercab, I think, are comfortable up to 100, 200 miles, where the seats in the Model Y are comfortable, in my opinion, up to 1,000 miles. Uh, before I've done some long drives, and I've not found comfort to be a problem. Yeah, what else could they do? Again, simplify the sound system to make it as good as they can make it in an affordable way, but not as amazing as it is on the other vehicles. Um, yeah, and
Okay.
how else to
Yeah.
get it down? Oh, and on the Cybercab, I would also point out that the fact that it is so narrow and is so small means that it's very efficient. It's got a very small footprint to move through the wind, which is a tremendous help. Adds to the range while reducing the weight. It's a virtuous cycle, and it all keeps spiraling.
I encourage everyone here to go check out Brian's YouTube channel, FutureAza. Go take a look at those videos he made. There's so many things he talked about how this was specifically designed for robotaxi and to lower cost. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see much that is going to come out from this. The learnings from the Cybercab is going to show up in the more affordable vehicles. It really is so designed specifically for the Cybercab, right? I mean, so many parts of it which just you can go on forever talking about that, which you have in your videos, which is great.
And I do think we will see a front bumper camera on whatever it is that's
Yeah.
released.
Yeah, that's cheap and simple. That's probably something that's going to carry forward for everything. Okay, well, thank you very much. That was fun. I appreciate your knowledge about the structural battery, the structural undercastings and so forth, and all the other features. Follow Brian on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.